Good morning. Stay with me. I want you to imagine this, and it's best done with your eyes closed. So close your eyes. Imagine you're in a box, a room 6 by 6 by 6, no windows, no doors. You can smell nothing. You can hear nothing. You can see nothing. And now you're 18 years old, and one of the walls breaks. You can open your eyes. What do you see besides this? So we all live in a box. And the box has boundaries. And if you were to step out at the age of 18, having felt nothing, seen nothing, heard nothing, smelt nothing, what might it be like? Would you have a question? You might. I see heads nodding. So our brain has two kinds of boxes: the I know box and the I don't know box. Right? The I know box contains everything that we know. So the smell of poha in the morning, your books, some of the stuff you're supposed to do by rote learning, the syllabus. We recognize our parents, we recognize our neighborhood. All the I know box. Familiar, safe, usually. And then there's the I don't know box. And in the I don't know, when you encounter something that you don't know, many different things happen in our brain. You resist the idea, you might argue it, you might rebel, you may not like something and you rebel. You might even accept it on a good day. There are things to fear. At your age, you'd probably walk away. I do. We've done every one of this. I'm guessing that you know moments when you've done these and you stop listening. So I grew up in a boarding school, and I went there when I was 6.5. Went through the motions of schooling, struggled with it, tried to drop out, didn't quite work out. And then I took a job like we all do, and the job gave me another box, a boundary. And it said, you got to behave in a particular way, dress a particular way, do certain things, say certain things. And for some part of me always said, you know what, like you just heard, ask. And I think the word for me was, I needed to find out why were certain things happening. And I asked questions. The thing about questions is that we know questions come from curiosity. Yeah? And where does curiosity come from? What do you do when you're curious? You explore. Exploration brings adventure. Adventure brings the unknown. The unknown involves risk. And this is where I think the game changes. So I played the corporate game for about 12 years, and then it got a little too much. I kind of burnt out. Retired hurt, as they say. And I went off to, so I said no to some things. I said no money, because money seemed to be what everybody was running after. And I said, okay, what happens if I don't want money? So I went off, and so what do you do when you're that age? You either get married to a rich girl or you find somebody to look after you. So I went off to teach in a school, in a boarding school. And quite a different journey began for me. I became a teacher. I taught biology and computer science. And I found that there was a big gap between what schools were saying and what schools were doing. So there's that gap of the unknown. And so I said, okay, I'm going to move around in schools, and for the next 10 years, I did that. I discovered the mountains. And the thing is this, that you do all that, and curiosity cannot have a destination. And I think I was looking for one. Couldn't find one. So there were two lessons that I learned, or two events that changed my life. One was an act of saying, you know, if I want to search for something, where do I find it? How do I find it? So I went off to the mountains, and we were doing so there was training to become a guide in the mountains, and we were at about 20,000 feet. And we got snowed in. And for a week, we were in, imagine 6x4 tents. And every morning you wake up and your tent's about this high and the snow is up there. We were hit by a blizzard. That's around the time, so some of you may have seen a movie called Into Thin Air, or about Everest, when a lot of people died. At the same time, we were on this mountain called Dhaulagiri, and snowed in. And for a week, by the end of that week, I was cold, I was wet, everything I owned was drenched. And it was time to stop being the hero. You know how we want to be heroes, right? It was a good time to stop, and I had to tell myself that exploration had a limit and that exploration needed to stop there. I kind of walked away from that experience, and I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, that risk has boundaries. Everything has boundaries, like classrooms. We got to find which ones they are. And then there are doors that open, and one of the doors, so the second event was essentially, I said no money for about 10 years. I wandered from school to school, started doing camping, outdoor adventure with children and adult groups. And then I discovered that what I was doing was something called outdoor education or experiential education. And I got an invitation to go to England. I was a poor teacher. I had by choice. And the choice essentially was that if I don't take money, you can't hold me. And I can leave when I want. So when you're unhappy with me, let me go. And when I'm unhappy, I will leave. But as long as we're together, let's party. So I told them, I said, I can't make it to England. I don't have the money. And we kind of worked it out. This is snail mail days, right? And so I said, look, I'll make the ticket, but you got to look after me and you got to train me. And which organization, hardly anybody does that today. But they did accept my invitation. And I went there and I spent 6 months, and I came back. My life had changed. And the lesson I learned was that if you want something, ask for it. I made it into an art. I called it the art of beggary. It's never failed me. As long as you're not asking for money, people will invariably give you almost anything. And that stayed the path of my life for a fairly long time. Here's the thing. We seek perfection. You're going to always have somebody in your life who's saying, get better, become perfect, seek excellence. There is no such place. Everything is work in progress. So here's my message to you. Get uncomfortable no matter where you are, what you're doing, because that's where the learning is. And I hope you find somebody in your life who says every day, hey, you know what? Go risk something today. Don't be careful. Go risk something. Thank you.